Hello, Heal with Gold. I am so happy to be here with you. Please, when you come in, let me know who you are. If you didn't approve StreamYard, give me your name, where you connecting from. If you did connect from StreamYard, I will see your name when you join. I am so excited to be back. Hi, Marina. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I am happy to be back. But I almost didn't. I have to confess, I almost didn't. And then something inside of me said that today I have to be here and I have to interview Malaika. Hi, Sharon. And I just decided that I'm going to listen to my gut, and I did. So I am here. And I want to, before I bring Malaika in, I want to tell you two things about books, because I didn't come live in the group this week to talk about my books. You guys know that I made a commitment to, hi Salud, aloha, to read a book a week, but obviously with everything that's going on with my husband, I missed a couple of weeks, but I'm about to finish The Breakthrough Experience by Dr. DeMartini, and please, please read this book. I will go through the exercises, and I will probably be reading this book multiple times. It is beyond fantastic, so I highly, highly recommend it. On the other hand, is I received 10 copies of the book, the anthology that I'm in. So there are every chapter is by a different author, and I'm here. I'm doing backwards here. That's me. Anyway, I have 10 copies. These books are going for $20 on Amazon. If anybody wants a signed copy, I'll ship it to you for $15, including shipping. So if you want to read this book, it's fantastic. Some amazing, amazing authors. I think that either Tasia or Lori that was in the summit, she also has a chapter here. So that's about that, about books. Hi, Pam. So happy that you guys joined me today. I am going to give you a very quick update about what's going on in my life, because you're all part of my family. And I want you to know a little bit about what's going on. So my husband, since his stroke last 2019, he's been very anemic. We kept doing tests and we couldn't find a bleed. And then about 3 weeks ago, he collapsed. We went to the hospital. He got blood. He got iron. He was in the hospital for 4 days. While there, he was complaining of a headache in the back of the head, and not being able to see well. And he was pretty much ignored in the hospital, and he was having another stroke. So he had a stroke in the hospital. He came home after 4 days in the hospital, and the vision, he simply lost the top right part of his eyesight on both eyes. So the problem is not in the eye, the problem is in the brain, where it processes vision. So he came home Thursday. Friday, I took him to a retina specialist who said, Miriam, he had another stroke. Sunday, he was back in the hospital. He was from Sunday through Thursday in the hospital, very anemic, confirmed the stroke, and they found a mass on the adrenal gland that needs to come out because of the stroke and not being able to simply take blood thinners out, and because they have to regulate his blood pressure. We're preparing him for the surgery. So we're actually going now to the Cleveland Clinic, and we're seeing all the specialists again, and hopefully we'll figure this all out. You know, I feel like I'm leaving that show house. There's no doctor that's nasty and brilliant, but we're that example of a patient that doctors are like a little bit shocked, not understanding, and because the mass on the adrenal gland may not be the reason of the anemia. So after that, he's probably going to need a biopsy of the bone marrow. So we're here. We're going to have like a long haul of complicated situation, and we will be accepting all the prayers and all of your love, because I need all the prayers. So keep praying for us and keep being here and supporting me. And I love you guys so much. You cannot understand the difference that it is for me this time around compared to September 2019, where I did not have a support group. And now I have all of you and all of your love, and the difference that it makes in the process is tremendous. The messages that I get from you in the group via private messages, they're my lifeline, and I am forever, forever grateful. So without further ado, let's find out why my gut said that I cannot cancel this show today. Without further ado, here is Malaika. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. There was so much confusion. I was telling a little bit behind the scenes how I booked 2 people for today. And then I said, I'm not going to do the show. And I was thinking that I'm just canceling with the other one. I didn't have you on the schedule. And then you contacted me. And I had to cancel with that one, who was very relieved, but something told me that I cannot cancel with you. So we'll discover together why. This is a godly show. It had to happen, and we'll find out why. Malaika, can you please introduce yourself to the group and tell them who you are, what you do, and so on?
Yes, thank you. I am Malaika Simmons. That's as in Alaika Malaika. So thank you for pronouncing it correctly. I was just on another call earlier, and I'm always surprised when people actually get my name right. So it's awesome. So thank you. So I am an empowerment and performance management coach, and I created an intentional framework for living that I call the Momentology Method. And the Momentology Method is a little bit like it sounds. It is the study of the moment. It's really the study and practice, with an emphasis on practice, because there are lots of things you can think about, but if you're not doing anything, you're not going very far, right? So the practice is really about not just the things that you're thinking, but things that you're doing. And I always say that I kind of call it mindfulness for the rest of us. So for those of us who have all the things to do, we're moms, we're wives, partners, sisters, all the labels that we have, and we can't find an inch of time for ourselves, right? Like quality time sounds really wonderful, but it's probably a unicorn because you ain't seen it. That's who I speak to. Those are the type of women who I help to get on the other side of obligation to the side of joy, because we only do 2 things in life, right? What we have to do and what we get to do. And that just depends on whether or not we consider it a joy or an obligation. And I try to help women get closer to the joy side.
Okay, so we have that in common, because if I would define my mission statement, is to show women that there is joy after adversity. My whole goal in life is saying, yes, we go through, obstacles and challenges and tests, and it's painful, but it doesn't mean that there isn't joy coming right around the corner, or even within, in the midst of pain, there's also joy.
Yes.
So we have this in common. We want to bring joy for people. So I'm already loving it.
So we actually have a few other things in common, which I've just noticed literally at the time that we were preparing for this show, right? One is I love Japanese philosophy. And so Kintsugi is one of my favorites. Also Ikigai, which is the reason for being, right? And so I teach how to live Ikigai principles in real life with all the struggles. And so it's not so like esoteric and, am I supposed to be chanting or like meditation? What is that? I don't know what 10 minutes by myself looks like, right? So I help women get through that. And then we were joking earlier about trying to get the cameras right and everything. And I had the light and I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like I'm glowing. And you said, oh, well, it's probably because you're an angel. And so my name, Malaika, means angel in Swahili, right? And my middle name is Joyce. I was named after my beautiful grandmother. And so literally my name means my angel of joy. So
okay, I think we got it. My daughter is Joy. Her name is Joy.
Really?
Yes, I have a daughter. Her name is Julie Joy. They still kill me because I named her JJ. You know, the whole JJ didn't catch on, but she's Joy. And yes, Ikigai, if you look in the group, because you're part of our group, if you look in the group, I always tell them the books that I'm reading. And I, 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I finished reading the book Ikigai. I didn't love that book particularly because I didn't feel that it touched on the most important parts of the whole concept of Ikigai. But it was a great book for a beginning person who's just trying to learn what Ikigai is. I want to do shows about Ikigai because I think it's very, very important. I'm actually going to be speaking at Columbia University in November, and I think I will be talking a combination of Ikigai.
Yeah.
But yeah, Japanese culture is so rich, and I think that we need desperately to bring some of those lessons into this hectic, crazy life of ours here, you know. And yes. So first of all, I saw your TEDx talk. And
thank you.
And I'm telling you, first of all, you were unbelievable. I loved how you did like, okay, this is my moment. Let me take in. I love that because you were in the moment.
I was definitely in the moment, and that was not scripted, by the way. So one of the funniest things I tell people is that I had no idea that I was going to say or do that. But when I got into that stage on the red dot and that light was super bright in your face and you can't really see the audience, I decided that I needed to practice what I preach a little bit. And that was my moment. And I was going to take it in just for a little while. Like I wasn't going to take up the whole speech, but I definitely needed to take that in because it's something, not only was it a bucket list item, it was something that I hadn't thought prior to doing it that I would do. So I was standing in a very truthful moment, and there was something symbolic about that light shining on me because it was literally shining into me because I just gave 100% of whatever was in here just came one out. So
and I see how you're getting choked up now because you're probably reliving that moment. And I have to tell you, I thought it was so real and it was so sweet, you know. It was almost like in that second I got to know who you were, that you really lived what you preached, and it made me trust your message because of the way how you started it. So I'm encouraging everybody who's here tonight or whoever's going to watch this show on replay to look for Malaika Simmons' TEDx talk. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of the information you're going to share with us here, but it's such a special moment, the TEDx talk. You know, it's on my bucket list. I'm going to have to talk to you after hours and
yes, definitely.
I need, my life needs to get in, a little bit more controlled. But I know what I want to talk about. And I have this passion also to send this message into the world. So we'll talk about that. And then who knows, maybe I'll be on that stage too and feeling what you felt.
It is quite possible. And I will say for anyone that's listening or watching this right now, this is how I'll just tell you a little bit about how the TEDx actually came about, right? So I was meditating and in prayer, and I had just been in a kind of a sullen place a little bit where there just how you talked about before we came on, life just happens, right? And sometimes it doesn't give you a chance to breathe. It just keeps happening and you're like, I can't take anymore, or what am I going to do about this particular thing? Or you're stuck in the worry, right? And so one of the things that I had been fighting with internally was the Momentology Method, because I felt like, that imposter syndrome happens because I had planned to go into a PhD program at Georgetown. This is a program that I absolutely love, and they grandfathered it, or they turned it into a master's program. And so I started to think, who am I to talk about this method? I don't have a PhD. Like, who's going to listen to me, right? That kind of thing. But this is after I had already been using this thing for years, and it's been working for years. I'm still thinking to myself that this can't be something that other people are really going to get benefit from. So I had been meditating, and I kept hearing show up, show up. And I'm just like, that's ridiculous, because that's what we do. We say we want to do something, and then automatically we tell ourselves why we can't possibly do it, right? And I started thinking, well, that's impossible. How am I going to show up? There are like conferences in California. I can't afford to do that. Or there's this. Like, I just started knocking on everything. And then the show up was so strong, like it was just literally beating out of my chest. And so at the time, my speaking coach had told me before, he's like, I feel like you need to do a TED Talk. And I was like, what? Yeah, right. I'm not going to do a TED Talk. And I said to him, what would I talk about? Miriam, this was after I had already created the Momentology Method. And he's going, okay, we've got a lot of work to do. Because I still could not believe that this was something that was an idea worth spreading, which is what the TED Talk is about, right? And so I just decided, you know what, I got on a computer and I said out loud that I will find the stage that wants me. And then I just started typing in, and I found someone was asking for people to send in a concept. I sent in my concept. She loved it. She said, this is awesome. Can you come to an audition? And I auditioned and I won a spot. And I was one of the 6 people that sat on the stage that day. And so it really was me walking in my purpose and me being whoever I needed to be at that moment. Right then, I needed to be the person that was showing up, and I was going to find a way to do that. And that's how TEDx happened for me.
That's amazing, Malaika. And I want you to know that I felt tonight that I had to show up. I really felt that I had to show up because I'm exhausted. It's an emotional exhaustion. So it's not an exhaustion that sleep solves the problem, Mm-hmm. And I was out during the day and I just said, you know what? I need to show up. I think I need that first, you need to come back and then you regain the energy just by being present. Yeah. Because yes. I get so much energy from these interviews. So mm-hmm. They feed my soul. And I hope that they feed the soul of everybody who's listening. And I just got into a funk, like, maybe I won't do it now. Maybe I'll try to go to sleep earlier. And then I didn't. And then it's wasted time. And then we have an important job to do here because I only promoted the show tonight, right? It was this afternoon. And look, people are here and they want to hear it, and they're here to honor you. And I'm just so happy for that. And I'm happy that I went into that message that I was feeling inside, that I had to, and Salute is saying 90% of life is showing up. Salute says that in her show every day. Absolutely. And exactly, you have to show up and you have to come. And once you do it, things become easier as well. So I want to learn, and I'm sure everybody who's here wants to learn about the Momentology Method. Tell us about it.
Sure. So the Momentology Method, there are 3 major principles: awareness, gratitude, and expectance. And sometimes I say kind of act your age, but in a good way, right? So AGE, awareness, gratitude, and expectance. And this is really the states of being that we aspire to, because we're human beings, not human doings. And so you can do a lot of things. And anyone who's been really, really busy or had a bunch of things on their plate, they know you can do a lot and still feel like you have gotten nothing done, right? So it's not the busyness, it's not the things that you're doing. It's who you're being in those moments, right? And so awareness is an awareness that there's either more to be, more to do, more to have. It's just like that awakening that happens inside of all of us at some point. Usually it's at a low point where we're just like, I just can't take it with, like, there has to be another way, right? That's what, this can't be life. What is going on? That's usually how it happens, but it doesn't have to. Sometimes we're just, you don't have to be at rock bottom to have an awareness that there's more to have. And there's nothing wrong with wanting more than you already have, right? But the second part of the Momentology Method is gratitude, because you'll never have more of what you want until you want what you already have. And so I have to always I have to always emphasize that it is radical gratitude. So many of us think, well, I'm grateful. And I'm sure you are sometimes. And I'm sure some of us very enlightened folks have gratitude journals and we write our things down. And so we think we're grateful because we have a gratitude journal. I probably got 6 of them because I'm always taking notes. I'm a note taker. I'm a journaler. That's just how I've been since I was a little person. But it's not just the writing down or just the blessing of the food, right? It is, are you really grateful for the things and people and circumstances that you currently have in your life? Because if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you are more blessed than 90% of the population on the planet, right? You have a phone or you have a device, you have a house, you have something over your head. You probably ate today. And if you didn't, it's only because you were fasting. I mean, like you're choosing not to eat versus that not being an option. That's something to be thankful for. So every single day before I get out of bed, I run a litany until I can not think of anything else of things that I'm grateful for. And it starts with very simple things, right? Like I'm in a bed. Some people don't have a bed. I woke up next to my husband. My children are in their beds. They're safe. They're warm. They have food. We have water. We have light. We have clothing. So you can start to run down those things. And those are like the basic things. But like, have you ever gone on Google and just hit something? And it might have been a news article about somebody who had a heart transplant or something. And all of a sudden you find there are some people that were born, with partial hearts, or there's some people who were born with one lung. Like all of these, they seem like horrendous things, right? And they are. But the fact that you have both your lungs, a working heart, working eyes, working fingers, working toes, so like you can literally lay in bed all day and say the things that you are thankful for, because that's how much we have to be grateful for. And the more you're grateful, the more you get. So the more you're grateful, think about getting a gift. Like everybody loves gift giving holidays, right? So when you are grateful, you're actually giving yourself a gift. Every single time you think of something that's wonderful, you're giving yourself a gift. So that's gratitude. And then expectance, which is one that a lot of people have a problem with, because a lot of us are raised to think that, if you expect things, you'll just be disappointed. And I just don't have any expectations. That way I won't ever be disappointed. And that's not what I teach. And the reason that I don't teach that is it's not just the expectation. It is, it's how you have the expectation and what it is that you're expecting. So if you wake up tomorrow morning and you expect to win the lottery, you might get disappointed. But if you wake up tomorrow morning and you just expect to have a good day, don't you decide what a good day actually means, right? And so changing those expectations and taking the expectations off of things that you cannot control and placing them on things you can control, we'll see rockets. It changes like night and day, because if you're trying to put expectations on something that someone else is going to do, you're never going to win. But if you put expectations on what you can actually control, time and time again, it just bears out that that's probably where the better bet is. So those are the 3 major principles of Momentology: awareness, gratitude, and expectance.
So when you practice all of those 3 elements, you are really living more in the moment, right? You are aware of your situation. You have awareness of what your needs are and what you need to do to achieve them. Then you're grateful for everything that you have. And then you expect of yourself, pretty much. You're expecting more of yourself. And then you act on it in order to achieve a better life. So you're living on today. Like,
that's 100% correct. I call it living a momentous life, where the things you do matter, the thoughts you think matter, right? And so it's really a matter of taking what is out of your control and focusing on what is in your control. And the reason it's called Momentology, because it literally is a moment to moment basis. So sometimes we think that we have to plan out, like I'm one of them, right? We have to plan out our day, our week, our month. We have to set these big goals and, the SMART goals and all of that, right? And so when we don't do those things, we beat up on ourselves because we didn't do the things that we wrote down. Like, how many of you who are watching have ever put something on your list that wasn't there because you did it and it wasn't on the list? Like you do a checklist and you're adding to the checklist because you got to get credit for that thing that you did that, to offset, right? Because you're like mentally trying to give yourself a break.
Malaika, we're best friends here. I do that on a daily.
Yes. Because you feel like you gotta get credit for it, right? Because it's like, oh, well, I didn't get to these 6 things, but that's because I did these 3 things, so I better put it on the list, right?
Let me tell you something. I'm all about getting credit for anything good that I do. I have my conversations with God, and I demand points. The other day, I got so mad at somebody, and I did not raise my voice. And frankly, I didn't punch them in the face. So and I said, God,
I get points for that, right?
No. It was not like that. It was like, this was worth so many points. I'm getting those points. You better give me those points, because I am all about, I did it. I want to see that I did it. I want credit for it. Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen the show The Good Place?
I don't think so.
You've got to see, I don't know if it's like Netflix, or I think it's probably Netflix, but you've got to see The Good Place. And I don't want to give you any spoiler alerts, but there is a point system involved. So.
I'm all about, I give points. My kids, they do something good, and I said, you got points. Where are the points? I'm like, God's watching those points.
You know why? Because we need evidence, right? Humans love acknowledgement. Think about when you go into a store or restaurant or what have you, right? And you're the customer, and someone's busy and they're doing stuff. If they never look up at you, aren't you irritated? Yeah. Like you're like, you're not even gonna say anything. But if they just say, oh, hey, thank you for coming in, I'll be with you in just a minute, you'll stand there for another 10 or 15 minutes just because that person acknowledged you, right? So that's a human condition, right? Worldwide. Namaste, Sawubona in South African. It's like these are words that mean I see you, I acknowledge you, I see you. And matter of fact, even the movie Avatar. In Avatar, the little saying that they say, the little blue people, means I see you, because that is the heart of human connectedness, that to be seen. And so we're trying to get those points because we wanted to be seen. We want to be acknowledged for the things that we're doing. And the strife and the stress comes when either other people don't see our toiling, or we don't value the toiling that we think we're putting out there. And so we start telling ourselves that we're not doing enough, or we're not good enough, and that's where you keep seeing all of these posts like, you are enough. And I say, no, you're more than enough. Like, that's not even an issue.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm telling you, I tell my kids all the time, don't wait for somebody else to validate you for what you do. I think that it's totally okay for you to say, I did great. I faced this test, and I feel that I overcame it beautifully. That I was able to go and deal with a situation that was difficult, and I managed well. Right. And it's okay for you to acknowledge that you did good, because if we're always waiting for somebody else to see, nobody is watching what somebody else is doing and acknowledging them. We're all busy, thinking that we're not enough, or imposter syndrome. We're not even paying attention to what's around us. So we need to acknowledge the goods, not just the bads. We need to say, okay, I can improve here, but I did really great here. Good for me.
Right. And it's in confidence, and that's what confidence is. Confidence is internal, right? And so the difference between confidence and
Malaika, read this comment. You're gonna like it. Malaika, you're smiling so infectious. The monster of you smiling. So
thank you. The difference is confidence is really, if you think about it, confidence is to confide internally, right? So that's between you and God, saying God is telling you already that you are everything you need to be. And so you're having this inner dialect, right, with God before you even talk to another person. Like, other people's stuff is external validation. Confidence means you walk into a room or you walk into a situation knowing internally within you that you have whatever it takes to do whatever it needs to be done. And so that's the difference. I think a lot of people think that they can gain confidence by something external. And so that's why we go after these degrees and certificates and all of this. Now, don't get me wrong. You can talk to anyone in my family, especially my husband, and he will say that I am a lifelong school. Like school in me, that's a thing, right? So, and it's true. I am a lifelong learner, and I will always be learning something. I might not always be getting a piece of paper, but I always will be in some sort of school or reading and so forth. So I'm not anti-education. I'm not anti-certificates. I have lots of certificates. I have lots of degrees, right? But they don't make me who I am. Like I made that paper. The paper didn't make me. And a lot of the paper that I got was long after I had already, for example, I have a PMP, which is a project management professional certification. Okay, I've been doing project management for over 20 years. I just got that certificate 2 years ago. So you mean to tell me those other 18 years I wasn't doing project management? Of course I was. It's a checkbox on somebody's thing so that some company can say that they have people that have this thing, right? What happens is we take that external thing and we internalize it and think this is my worth because I have. No, I was running several divisions. I was doing work with several different companies without that PMP, right? So I was associate vice president for a $50 million firm before I had a PMP. So I need people to understand it's not about the piece of paper. Like if you want that thing, you want whatever you want, and you should be open to own your desires. That's another thing. We may talk about that, but we're not really honest with ourselves about what we want, right? But once you own what you want, go after it. If it's another piece of paper, if it's a certificate, if it's a degree, that's fantastic. But what you shouldn't be held to is thinking that that thing that you get is what makes you, right?
It's not only that. They shouldn't think that getting that is that what's going to bring you that happiness, because once you achieve that, usually you're ready for the next. I mean, that joy, that happiness, that high that you get,
yes.
You're ready for the next, like 2 minutes later, okay, this was great. Now what? I want the next thing, right?
Exactly. And if you think that I'll be happy when, you've already lost, right? Because I said we have to stop with the WHEN, winning, and start WIN, winning, because you're already winning. Like the things that you're doing, if you're in school, you're lucky, right? If you get a job, you're lucky or blessed, or however you want to say. You're fortunate to have the things that you have right now. You don't need another thing. Now, another thing might be good, but that doesn't mean it's going to change. What changes you is the journey. And so that's difficult for a lot of people to understand, because they're like, no, I need this thing. Like that's the thing that I need. But it's the person you become in pursuit of the goal. It's never the goal. The goal is just, actually the goal is not even a goal, right? The goal is just a jumping off point, because like you said, once you get that, you're hopping on to something else. That's and so right. I think of goals differently. And another good way to think of it is GOAL, gain opportunities and apply leverage. So a goal is just an opportunity for you to move into your next version of you. A goal is an opportunity for you to change whatever you just got, like use it, put it in the pot, stir it up, and make something else out of it. It's never the end point. It's always to move to the next point.
That's right. And I always talk, because when people say, oh, I want the light at the end of the tunnel, and I always say that's because it ended. If you see the light at the end of the tunnel, your life is over.
Right.
Because life is the tunnel.
Right.
Life is the tunnel, right? It's in a dark place, and it's a journey, and you need to go from point A to point B, and you need to be the light. You need to shine and just go through that tunnel of life. And it's hard because it's dark, and sometimes you don't feel like shining your own light. But
I like that. I do. I love the analogy for shining, because I feel like too many of us dim our lights, right? Too many of us, for different reasons, think that we can't be or we shouldn't be, and we put all these other things, and we're turning down our light. And I say, don't dim your light, just hand out sunglasses. Like, it's time to shine. You should not be so afraid of what other people think or what other people are going to do, because you can't control other people, first of all. So that's a no-win game anyway, right? And it's easier said than done, right? So none of the things that I say, I don't want people to think that I'm just saying super Pollyanna, oh, it's just so easy. No, it's definitely not. It's not that. It's definitely not easy. It's just necessary, right? And there's a difference. It's necessary and it's simple. The things that we want to do, usually the solutions are simple. We just we shy away from them. And much like you said with joy, right? I've had people come to me and say, I don't really know what makes me happy, or I don't know what brings me joy. Because I always ask people, like, what's the thing that brings you joy? And they're, well, I don't really know. Yeah, you do, Susan. I bet you do, right? You do, but you're afraid to own it. You're afraid to own it because someone told you that girls aren't good in math, or someone told you that women are supposed to not do engineering, or someone told you that a good mother would never have a job outside of the home, or someone told you that you're too short to be a basketball player. Like whatever the thing is that someone, even yourself, told you couldn't do, that's what's keeping you from your joy. It's not that you don't know, because we know when we laugh, and sometimes you're not sure. You're like, I kind of like this, but I kind of like that. Those of us who have like lots of interests, and we're not sure which one to focus on, that's fine. Follow the joy. Follow the thing that makes you smile. Follow the thing that makes you giggle. Follow the things that makes you laugh. And what happens is a lot of times we think they don't have worth. So for example, one of my clients, she is a very scientific person, PhD in like biochem or something like that. She's an attorney, like seriously serious business, right? And so through working with her, she said to me one time, you know what? I love cat videos on YouTube. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, where did that come from? She's like, well, you asked me what made me happy. She's like, I love cat videos. She said, as a matter of fact, I just love anything funny. I love like comedian acts and stuff like that. And she's like, I kind of used to dabble in that in college, but nobody takes that seriously. I'm like, who's nobody? All of the comedians that are out there making money in the world. What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. So here's the thing. Now I'm not going to tell you that she became a comedian, but she did start to embrace the silly side of her, like the thing that she loved. And she just said, I had a week this week and it was really, it should have stressed me out, but it didn't. She was like shocked. She was like, I can't believe I'm not super stressed out right now. I was like, were you watching your cat videos? And she's like, as a matter of fact, I fell down a rabbit hole. I'm like, listen, joy is addictive, right? And so when you find it in one place, it's like a little blanket and you take it with you into another place. And so that was not her new job, but that did give her old job, her current job, she got a little bit of a breather. So finding your joy does not mean that I'm telling you to go switch jobs tomorrow. It just means to find your joy and cultivate it.
That's incredible. Dr. DeMartini, I just spoke about his book, The Breakthrough Experience, that I'm reading this book. He has a book on values. And he also has like a course. I did the course on values. And he has about 13 questions that you go through. And then he has a way to scale, to do a whole scale on those answers, but you find what are your highest values. And when you live your life congruent with your highest values, you are joyful. And it was fascinating because he said so many people, he said the majority of the people that come through his, through this course live, he asked, who wants to make money? Like who? So everybody, right? 90% of the people, everybody wants to make money. But then when he's working on the values, 90% of these people, of this 90%, the majority of them, they don't have money as a high value. So he said, you're not making money because money, really making money, right? Producing income, that is not on your highest value. So you're not, so you can't live, but then it affects how you have money or don't have money. So
well, that's because it's fear-based, right? So when they're saying that they want money, it's not because they're like, super greedy money. It's because they fear that if they don't have money, they can't take care of the things that they have to take care of. So It's not really the thing that they value the most. It's just like, it's almost like self-preservation. Like, of course I want food and water. Like
exactly.
If you had asked everybody to say how many people want food and water, are they going to raise their hands? Yes. Are they consumed with food and water, thinking all days of their life? No. But yes, they absolutely need it. So that's the way we approach life too. We're like, oh, I have to do this thing to make money. If I don't do this, then this bad thing will happen. And so one of the things that I use Momentology Method for is to help people eliminate fear-based decision making. Because when we make decisions in fear, we are giving a level of specificity, because specificity is what makes things happen, right? And so how come we will say, I need $397.32 for some bill, right? But when someone says, what do you want? It's like, I just want to be happy, or I want a good job. Like, what so we give all the specificity to the things we fear and worry and wonder why they come about, because what you focus on expands, but then we don't give any level of specificity to the things that we want and wonder why things are murky. Somebody one time talked about a Polaroid picture, right? Like you take a picture and then this like says, so think of your the thing that you want, your desire, as a Polaroid picture, and you taken that picture. But now you're moving around and you're shaking it all over the place, and you're wondering why it's blurred. Well, it's blurred because you won't stand still, right? So it's not that you didn't know what you wanted. It's that the specificity started getting blurry and you started changing it left and right. And so there's nothing wrong with course correction. There's nothing wrong with strategic movement, but you have to be intentional about what you want. Like if you say you want a thing, be intentional about getting a thing, and then give it a minute. Like if you want to run a marathon on Monday, but you have never like run around the block, should you be signing up for the Boston Marathon? No, you probably want to take a walk first. So it's just like we want things, and then if it doesn't happen right then, we go, oh, I knew it. It's not going to happen for me.
Perfect. Now, I want to talk to you about gratitude, because we did a show on gratitude. I read a lot of books about gratitude. After that show, the whole month, I read books on gratitude. So it was nice. Books on gratitude. And you were saying that we all feel like we live in gratitude. But yeah, we write on our journal, and then we go through life and we forget about it. And it's so interesting because both times that my husband had a stroke, I was saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like a crazy lunatic, maybe a little bit to convince myself, but also because I knew that it could have been so much worse. I mean, I have friends, there are a lot of people in the group that had strokes, and there's all kinds of strokes, and the fact that it didn't affect my husband's motor skills, well, that just means that he can walk up the stairs and go to his bedroom upstairs, and we don't there's so much to be thankful for. And this time it was so interesting because I interviewed Jim Stovall. I don't know if you know him, but he's an amazing speaker. He's a blind man. And I interviewed him sound only, like podcast. He didn't want to be on video. And my husband's stroke happened about 2-3 weeks after I interviewed him. And talk about how godly the timing.
Yes.
Because how he would arrange the interview, when it was going to be, and he didn't want to be on video, and I wanted to figure out how to do the interview. So it took some time until we had that day. And that day was a difficult day for me. And I had it. And I'm like, oh, so many things got screwed up. The recording dropped in the middle. And I'm like, why did this all, mess up with technology had to happen? And so soon after, my husband lost so much of his vision. And I'm thinking, he's completely blind, and look what he managed to do. This man has written so many books, made so many movies. He's worldwide famous. Mm-hmm. And so and he's blind, he's completely blind. So first of all, I have to be grateful that what my husband lost was a quarter of the vision and not the full vision, Yeah, it affects life in a bad way. And we have to get used. He can't drive, he can't read. There's all kinds of effects that happen from it. But there's always, I think, that when you can see the blessings within the nightmare, when you can find, and you can, instead of being angry and mad, you can breathe and say, this is difficult. This is not going to be an easy package, but I still see the blessings within it. And I know that I still have so much to be grateful for. I think that is when you achieve a level that you are grateful for what you have. You're saying something was taken away, but I'm grateful for what I have. And maybe I'm going to get something else. Because I find it that when things are taken away from our lives, other things come. And this is something else that Dr. DeMartini talks about, and he talks a lot about in this book, that there is an equilibrium, that everything in life, there is like this perfect, coordination of things. It's just that we have this wrong expectations, right? That this is going to come from this source, And this is going to come from the source. So when we don't receive what we expect from that specific source, we are blinded by the fact that we are receiving somewhere else, right?
Oh yeah.
We are getting the help and the support and the love, not from the source that you expected, but you're getting from somewhere else.
Somewhere else, right? And I mean, you hit on a couple of different things there. One is that the thank you, right? The actual saying of thank you before you receive the thing, when you get the thing, after you get the thing, right? And so my daughter knows that sometimes when she hears me saying thank you, it's not because I'm having a good day. She hasn't learned that. And I mean, like, first of all, anybody that knows me knows that Tech and me are just not simpatico most of the time, right? There's always something. It's always something. Yeah. So a lot of times I'm just going, thank you, thank you, thank you, because it is true. No matter what you're going through, it could be worse. There's a Pulitzer Prize winning book called "It Could Be Worse," and it's one of my favorite stories. And it's a story of a old Jewish man in a house with his mother, his mother-in-law, his kids, and they're just too noisy. And he's just like, this is just too much. And he goes to the rabbi and he says, "Rabbi, listen, I can't take it. My mother-in-law is just cackling at me. The kids are noisy, my wife." And the rabbi says, "Okay, do you have any chickens?" And he said, "What, Rabbi, what are you talking about?" "Yeah, I got chickens." He said, "Go home, put the chickens in the house." And he's just like, "Go home, put the chickens in. I'm telling you about my family struggles. Go home, put the chickens in the house." So he goes home, he puts the chickens in the house, and the chickens are clucking and they're all over the place, and they're in the living room, they're all over the place. And he goes back and he says, "Rabbi, listen, I'm still having trouble. My mother-in-law's bothering me with the kids." And he was like, "Oh, do you have any goats?" And he's like, "Goats? Yes, Rabbi, of course we have to go home and put the goats in the house." And he goes home, he puts the goats in the house. The goats are eating the furniture, they're nibbling at the grandmother, everything is going wrong. He goes back to the rabbi, he said, "Listen, Rabbi, I am about to really lose it. I can't take it." And the rabbi said, "Oh, cows? You got cows?" And he's just like, "Yes, Rabbi, I have cows. Go home, put the cows in the house." And he goes home, and you can imagine that the house is just overrun. And he finally goes back and he's nearly in tears. He says, "Rabbi, I can't take it anymore. Please, 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 can you please help me?" And he says, "Put all the animals back into the barn." And the man goes home and he puts all the animals in the barn. All the animals are gone. The kids are yelling at each other. His wife is screaming at him, and his mother-in-law is hitting him upside the head with a pan. And he goes, peace. Right? Because it's all relative.
This is a story that my father told me since my childhood. I lost my father about 1.5 years ago. So I have no doubt that my father is right here. And he brought you to say this story.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah.
I have no doubt, because this is probably what my father is telling me. That whatever I have right now, that I'm going through right now, that if I just, imagine so much, all of that.
It can always be worse. It can always be worse. So whatever you have right now, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's challenging. But my great aunt used to say, when you say, "Why me? Why me?" And she goes, "Oh, well, why not me?" Right? Because it's got to be somebody. And so we hate to have that because we never want it to be us. But the point is that if you're blinking right now, if you're living through it, you are through it. You're getting through it. And so every day that you wake up is another day and another opportunity to do something else differently, to do something else better, or to just have more life, right? And so it's hard to think about those things very holistically when we're in the struggle, when we're dealing with something right away. But it's okay. That's the other thing. We don't always have to be figuring it out. We don't always have to be fixing it. Sometimes you just have to deal with that moment that's right in front of you. And that's all you can do. So if all you can do tomorrow morning is wake up and get out of bed, congratulations, because that was all you could do. And so we have to stop thinking of that we have to have done all these things before we're successful. No, if getting out of bed because you're so depressed or you're so tired or you're so XYZ is difficult, and you make it out of bed to the refrigerator and get yourself a glass of water and go and stare out the window for 15 minutes, congratulations, right? So be able to first give yourself grace and understand that we're all works in progress. We're all becoming. And every time we do something positive, we're getting points in the right in the right direction. So take your points when you get them. And I had a client one time, she put a little sticky on my computer that said breathe. Because I'm like, okay, I'm on to the next thing. I didn't walk on 2 of my graduations because I was already going after the next degree. So we have to stop. We have to stop with the what will happen then. I'll be happy then and be happy now, because happiness is a choice. Joy is a choice. The things that we want is right in front of us, and we choose whether or not to take them in or not.
I'm freaking out. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see under my name, Joy is a choice.
Absolutely.
If you go to my WhatsApp, joy is a choice. Because I'm telling you, the days that I wake up in the morning and I say I choose joy, I behave differently.
Yes.
I make different choices to achieve that joy. You know,
because you are literally changing your DNA. Your psychological DNA changes. First of all, endorphins, right? The things that happen when you smile, oxytocin, the things that happen when you're happy, these are chemical reactions that happen in your body. So you literally are a different person when you're happy than when you're not. And so choosing joy, first it's like turning the stove on. You're turning on the fire. So when you choose joy or when you choose happiness, you're turning it on. And so happiness happens first, and then the thing that you get comes next. And I know that's really difficult for people to get and understand sometimes, because we think we have to do something to make us happy. You have to be happy person in order for the things to come to you.
Yes. You know that I'm going now through a very hard time. And in general, I'm a very private person. You know, I'm not one of these people that post everything on Instagram and Facebook of my personal life. My husband doesn't have social media. My kids don't have social media. I have adult kids who don't have social media. So we are in general introverts and more private. But I said to myself that if I talk about what I'm going through, even though it's hard for me, it's going to give purpose to my pain. You know, it's going to be the type of thing that I'm going to say, okay, but if I'm helping somebody, if somebody is going to hear about our, health crisis right now, and they're going to decide to go to the doctor and go and do a checkup.
Right.
If I open up and I make myself open, vulnerable, and I share, and then one person's life was changed because of it, that changes how I react to my struggle. So that's why I tell people that sometimes we go through something and we close ourselves, because it's natural that when we're in pain, we don't want to be visible, right? We want to hide. We want to retreat. True. I understand it, especially as an introvert. I'm like right there to retreat. Yeah. But I'm noticing that by sharing with the group, first of all, I feel so embraced and loved. But secondly, I'm feeling like, okay, maybe there is a bigger reason for the struggle, and for that I can be grateful for. So I may not understand exactly why I'm going through what I'm going.
Right.
If I can help somebody, then it's worth it.
And it's not just for you, right? And that's the part that you're saying, like the things that we go through, we think are happening to us. They're happening for us, right? That they're happening not just for us, but for those that we touch. Because okay, so I have a mission to empower 1,000 women, globally. And the reason I didn't say 1 million women is because I feel like we're all lights. And when we help to light for another person, then they can give that light to someone else. And just this evening, I was on another call doing some working with getting your pitch right and selling your business and all kinds of stuff. And so I was like, not half-hearted until I was into it, but I was coming at it from a very business-oriented way. Like, this is the thing I'm supposed to do. And the person was like, no, I get that. What's your story? And I was like, what? I was like, wait, I thought we were talking about what I do with the business. And they're like, no, I need to know your story. And so it took me a few seconds. Like, it's not that I didn't know the story that I wanted to tell, but like you said, it's like, it's so personal. It's not that I haven't told it before, but there are so many pieces to why Momentology came together, some of which I talked about in the TED Talk. But it's like, what was the seminal moment? And I think we all have those when we're like, something has to change, right? So when I say awareness, gratitude, and expectance, like the awareness is almost like that dam that breaks sometimes, right? So I was pregnant with my daughter. I was the only woman of color in a meeting that I was supposed to be leading, and the man, an older white man, asked me to go get his coffee. And this was, like I said, I was pregnant. So, we can say maybe some hormone issues, but also the fact that this is not the first time, and like all of the things that run through your head. And I was stressed out, and it was a very stressful job and all of that. I got so upset. I got into my car, drove off, and sat in a parking lot in tears, right? Crying my eyes out. And I was holding my belly, and I promised my daughter that I would never let anyone diminish her potential, not even her, right? And so now I serve unapologetically from my zones of joy and genius. And that's what I teach other women to do. And so that's my story. And that's part of why Momentology, I believe, came to me. But I was not, before like an hour and a half ago, really trying to share that part of the story. I just like, I want to help women. But the truth is that we all have something inside of us that compels us to serve in some kind of way. So the sooner we realize how we're meant to serve, which means grow, the sooner we're able to get to the thing that brings us joy. And what brings me joy is facilitating discovery. I come from a family of teachers. I can't help myself. I tried to run from it, but it is what it is. I love that aha moment. I love when someone who thinks that they can't do something says, I did that, right? And it doesn't matter if they're a child or an adult. That aha moment is my drug of choice. So that's like, this is what I'm leaning into. And so that gives you power. That gives you joy. That is the thing that keeps you moving. That's what makes you show up.
And you know what? I found, because I've been interviewing women for 3 years, women who thrived after adversity. And every single one of them, whatever the exact thing that broke them, was the place where they shine today. That's where they're giving. That's where they're thriving. Because what broke us also teaches us so many lessons and brings us such
a gold. That's the gold in the healing, right?
Exactly. And look at you. Your story exactly relates to what you're doing, right? You're fixing in a huge scale something that broke you. It was that continued pattern, and you said no more. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to raise the next generation of strong Black women, and I'm going to teach other women to rise above whatever they think is constricting their success. And this is amazing. And I think that there's such a huge lesson here for everybody, because so many people in the group are struggling with something, health issues, many are caregivers, and other issues, personal issues. And that you should all know that within that pain, and it's not to belittle the pain, it is not to, growth hurts. Growth hurts a lot.
And it comes from a deep place, right? You can't have water in the well until you dig the hole.
That's right.
So you're digging and digging and digging, and that's a painful process, right? But it fills up. It fills up, and you have reserves. So when you don't think you have anything, you have to go to the well, and you just have to remember where you put it sometimes. Right. But you have to go to the well. Exactly.
Let me tell you, I almost feel like I'm in church. I've never been in church. I'm Jewish. But you told the rabbi story, so I could say that I feel like amen. Thanks, girl.
Exactly. No, I think I'm so seriously and appreciative of just the spaces that I find myself in. The more I lean into, like you said, the things that break you are the things that give you strength. And it's not always fun. It's a lot of times it's not fun. Like if it doesn't hurt a little bit, you're probably not doing it right? And so the inside work is super important, and it's the part that we skip first. We want all the strategies on how to do X, Y, Z. We want the stuff that we can write down. And like I did give you some, like the AGE, the GOAL, and I got tons of those, right? I got acronyms for days. But it's not about those things. It's the inside work that you actually have to do to make those things actually bear fruit.
That's right. Malaika, first of all, I'm so happy. I knew that this was an important day. I have to tell you something. I almost feel like I got such a a bolt of energy, and which is going to carry me through the week. So I'm so
Awesome.
grateful. If anybody has any questions, please, you're welcome to ask now. The wonderful thing is that Malaika is in our group. So whoever is in the Heal with Gold, if you have questions, just tag her on the question. She's going to be able to answer. And Malaika, you're going to send me all of your links so
Yes,
we can
I
share.
definitely will.
If anybody wants to get in contact with you, I love, love, love connecting people. And I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your wisdom. I'm so happy that this worked out.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that I showed up. You know,
Yes.
right? It's important for us to get out of that comfort zone, and it's always good. You know, that first step is hard, but once you do the first step, you get into the momentum. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
and
And I will end with, I'll tell you that we were talking about gratitude, right? So gratitude is my absolute favorite human emotion. A lot of the work I do is around human-centered design, which is really drawing empathy for products and programs and services and helping people to be more empathetic to their customers. But the one thing I thought was funny, I can say thank you in about 37 or 38 languages. All right. So, and that's because I never want to meet anyone on the planet that I can't say thank you to in the most heart-centered way. And that's your mother language, right? The language you heard in the womb. So I will say, because you speak Portuguese, I will say obrigado.
Thank you. This is amazing. And you shared with me in the very beginning when we were talking, and you knew a little bit. I want you to share this 37 languages, the thank you. I would love to learn them. Send them.
Oh, yeah. So what happens is every time I meet someone who speaks a different language, I my first thing I want to know is, how do you say thank you? And then I want to know food, because food, right? So that's necessary. So
do you know how to say thank you in Hebrew?
I don't know Hebrew, but you can teach me.
I'm going to teach you. And that's
okay.
So easy.
Okay.
Toda.
Oh, I do know that. Toda. I did know that. So it's in the Rolodex, right? So it's toda is thank you, and toda rabala.
Toda rabala is thank you so much.
Very much. Yes. It was in there. It was in there. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what? I have this thing that when I'm in the show, I take stuff on myself based on what people say. So I became plant-based because I did a show with somebody who was plant-based. And then I was in the show with somebody motivated me to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then somebody motivated me not to take my phone into my room. So I'm going to make a commitment to learn 35 languages to say thank you.
All right.
I think this is so, so beautiful. And I am going to share it with the group, and I hope that they're going to join me. This is fantastic. I love it.
Wonderful. I'll put a few thank yous in different languages in the group when we're finished.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I met you. I want to stay friends with you.
Absolutely.
Beyond this show, I need you in my life.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it tremendously, and I'm glad we both showed up today.
Yes, my pleasure. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up last minute. It warms my heart. All your messages, your prayers warm my heart. And I will stay in touch with you this week. I believe we have a show on Wednesday, and if we do, I will show up. I'll share with you the information probably tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.